Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that winter itself has become your enemy. Not just uncomfortable, actually dangerous to your health. Sounds impossible, right? But here's the thing, for some people, this is their everyday reality. What would you do if simply stepping outside on a cold day could cover your body in painful red bumps? How would you live your life? Today, we're going to explore an incredible true story while practicing real-life English at the A2B2 level. You'll learn useful vocabulary about health, weather, and daily challenges, words and phrases you can use immediately in conversation. We'll discover how one person learned to cope with a condition that most of us have never even heard of. But before we dive into the full story, let me give you a quick preview of what's coming. Welcome to Lady Show English. So, are you ready to find out what happens when your body treats cold like poison? Let's begin. Before we get into the full story, let me quickly show you the practical English you're about to learn today. Trust me, these aren't just textbook words, they're expressions you'll actually use in real conversations. First, we'll look at some health-related vocabulary like breakout and hives, allergic reaction, and cope with. These are essential when talking about medical conditions or even just explaining why you're not feeling well. We'll also explore the phrase no matter what, which is incredibly useful when you want to emphasize that something always happens, regardless of the situation. Next, we'll practice talking about triggers, things that cause reactions or problems. This word works for allergies, emotions, even work stress. And we'll learn how to use avoid naturally in sentences, because let's be honest, we're all trying to avoid something, right? But here's what makes this lesson special. Every phrase we cover today comes directly from a real person's experience. That means you're learning English that people actually speak, not just grammar book examples. And wait until you hear the emotional part of the story, it'll help you remember these words forever. Ready to jump into the complete story? Here's what happened. Meet Ariana Kent, a 17-year-old student from Kenilworth in England. Her life might look normal from the outside, but she lives with something most people can't even imagine. She's allergic to cold. Yes, you heard that right, cold temperatures make her sick. Ariana has a condition called cold urticaria. Whenever the temperature drops below 12 degrees Celsius, her body breaks out in hives, painful, itchy red bumps that cover her skin. But here's the surprising part. She didn't always have this condition. It started suddenly when she was just 7 years old. Imagine being a young child and suddenly your body starts reacting to something as common as cold weather. No matter what she does, wearing warm clothes, staying indoors, if the temperature is too low, she gets sick. And guess what happened next? She had to completely change how she lives her daily life. For most of us, winter means cozy sweaters and hot chocolate. For Ariana, it means careful planning. She has to check the temperature before going outside. She avoids swimming pools because the water is often too cold. Even holding a cold drink can trigger a reaction on her hands. This is the important sentence. She can't do simple things that most teenagers take for granted. But wait for this part. Despite all these challenges, Ariana refuses to let her condition control her life. She takes antihistamines, medicine that helps reduce allergic reactions, every single day. She carries an EpiPen, a special injection for emergencies, wherever she goes. And she's learned to recognize the warning signs when her body starts to react. Here's where it gets emotional. Ariana says that the hardest part isn't the physical symptoms, it's feeling different from everyone else. When her friends are outside enjoying winter activities, she often has to stay home. When people invite her to outdoor events, she has to explain why she might not be able to go. Listen to this sentence carefully. I just want to be normal," she once said. "I don't want to be the girl who can't go outside when it's cold." But here's the powerful part. Ariana is now raising awareness about cold urticaria. She wants people to understand that some allergies aren't just about food or pollen, they can be about temperature too. She's sharing her story so that others with similar conditions won't feel so alone. And this surprised everyone. Doctors say cold urticaria is more common than people think, but many cases go undiagnosed because people don't realize that cold can be an allergen. Some people might have mild reactions and never connect them to temperature. The real message here? Our bodies are complex, and sometimes they respond to the world in unexpected ways. Ariana's story reminds us to be understanding when someone says they can't do something for health reasons, even if that reason sounds unusual to us. Now that you know the full story, let's break down all those useful English expressions I highlighted. You're going to love how practical these are. Let's start with one of the most useful phrases from today's story: break out in hives. This means to suddenly develop red, itchy bumps on your skin, usually because of an allergic reaction. In our story, we saw her body breaks out in hives when it's cold. But here's how you'd use this in everyday life. I broke out in hives after eating those shrimp. I think I'm allergic. Or maybe at work, the stress from that presentation made me break out in hives. You can use this literally for skin reactions, or sometimes people use it figuratively to mean they're extremely stressed or anxious. Here's a little task for you. Think about a time when something made you really uncomfortable or stressed. How would you describe that feeling using today's vocabulary? Besides allergies and stress, what other situations might make someone break out in hives? Keep that in mind. Ready for the next one? Now let's look at no matter what. This is such a powerful phrase. It means regardless of the situation or in all circumstances. In Ariana's story, no matter what she does, if the temperature is too low, she gets sick. This emphasizes that her condition doesn't change, whatever she tries. You can use this everywhere in daily life. At work, no matter what happens, I always finish my projects on deadline. With friends, no matter what time you call, I'll answer if you need me. About habits. I drink coffee every morning, no matter what. See how it shows determination or consistency? It's perfect for emphasizing that something is always true, with no exceptions. Here's your small task. Can you think of something you do consistently, no matter what? Maybe a daily habit, or a promise you always keep. Think about how you'd say that in English. Here comes an even better one. Let's talk about cope with. This means to deal with something difficult, to manage a challenging situation. From our story, Ariana learned to cope with her condition. This is incredibly useful for talking about challenges in life. Daily examples: I'm learning to cope with my new job's busy schedule. She copes with stress by doing yoga. It's hard to cope with living in a new country, but it gets easier. Notice that we say cope with something. That preposition is important. You cope with stress, with change, with difficulties. This phrase works for emotional challenges, work pressure, health issues, relationship problems, basically any difficult situation you're managing. Interactive moment: what's something challenging in your life right now? How do you cope with it? Do you talk to friends, exercise, listen to music? There are so many ways to cope with different things. You'll like the next one even more. Here's a super practical word: trigger. As a verb, it means to cause something to happen, especially a reaction or response. In Ariana's case, holding a cold drink can trigger a reaction on her hands. In everyday life, you'll hear this constantly: loud noises trigger my headaches. That song triggers happy memories of my childhood. Seeing my ex-boyfriend triggers uncomfortable feelings. Certain foods trigger my allergies. It's especially common when talking about emotional responses, medical reactions, or memories. You can use it for both positive and negative situations, though it's more commonly used for negative or unwanted reactions. Think about this: what triggers stress for you? Maybe traffic, deadlines, or certain people? What triggers happiness? Maybe music, good food, or time with family? Ready for the next useful phrase? Let's learn raise awareness. This means to make people more informed or conscious about an issue. Ariana is raising awareness about cold urticaria by sharing her story. This phrase is very common in social contexts, health campaigns, and environmental issues. Real-life examples: they're raising awareness about mental health in schools. The campaign aims to raise awareness about recycling. I want to raise awareness about this problem in my community. You'll see this phrase in news, social media, and whenever people are trying to educate others about important topics. It's about making something more visible and understood. Small task: is there an issue you care about? How would you raise awareness about it? Would you use social media, talk to friends, or organize events? Think about how you'd explain this in English. Here's the emotional part. Let's look at warning signs. These are early indicators that something bad might happen or that a problem is developing. For Ariana, she's learned to recognize the warning signs when her body starts to react. This is so useful in many contexts. Health: chest pain can be a warning sign of heart problems. Relationships: constant arguing is a warning sign that something's wrong. Work: when my boss starts micromanaging, that's a warning sign of stress. Weather: dark clouds are warning signs of a storm. We use this phrase to talk about early symptoms, red flags, or indicators that help us prepare or take action before things get worse. What are some warning signs you've learned to recognize in your own life? Maybe when you're getting sick, when you're too stressed, or when a situation is becoming problematic. Ready for the next one? One more essential phrase: take for granted. This means to not appreciate something because you're so used to having it. From our story, Ariana can't do simple things that most teenagers take for granted. We all do this. Examples: I took my health for granted until I got sick. Don't take your friends for granted, show them you appreciate them. We take clean water for granted, but not everyone has it. I used to take my free time for granted before I had kids. This phrase usually comes with a lesson about appreciation or gratitude. It reminds us to value what we have. Here's something to think about. What do you take for granted in your daily life? Your family's support? Your ability to walk? Access to education? Recognizing what we take for granted is the first step to being more grateful. Now you've got all these amazing tools in your English toolkit. Let's wrap everything up. Wow, we covered so much today. Let's quickly recap the most practical A2 to B2 English we learned. Breakout and hives for allergic reactions, no matter what for showing consistency, cope with for managing challenges, trigger for causing reactions, raise awareness for educating others, warning signs for early indicators, and take for granted for things we don't appreciate enough. These aren't just words. They're real expressions that native speakers use every single day in conversations about health, emotions, work, and relationships. If you learned something useful today, leave a heart in the comments, it really helps the channel. And if you have a friend who's also learning English, feel free to share this video with them. Learning together always makes things easier and more fun. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Lady Show English so you never miss our practical English lessons based on real stories. And here's a teaser. Next time, we're exploring an even more surprising story that'll teach you essential vocabulary about technology and daily life. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for practicing your English with me today. Keep listening, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next lesson.